Okay, so welcome everyone to Tuesday meditation. As usual, we start by making sure we're comfy, however we're sitting or reclining, or check out the body, see if there's ways in which the body would like to be loosened up. And let's start tonight by sitting up comfortably, as you can comfortably do. And let's start tonight with the three seed syllables of Vajrayana practice. That's Tibetan Buddhist practice. Some of you may be familiar with these. The three seed syllables in Tibetan practice are Om, Ah, Hum. Om. You're familiar with Om. Ah, we've been doing all our lives. And then Hung. Hung, like Hoong. Okay? And these are used by themselves in Tibetan practice, and also they're the beginnings of many of the longer, more elaborate mantras in Tibetan practice. But the three together, and I think you'll experience just getting into that sound, the way they vibrate in the body, the way they vibrate in the nervous system, is there's a reason why these three are used together a lot and in that order. Okay, so and we'll be taking deep breaths as usual because it feels good to breathe. When you can breathe, it means you're alive. And if we take deeper breath, we can have more time to forget about time, more time to just get lost in that sound vibration. So let's take a deep breath in. What comes next? Nothing comes next. We're already sitting, we're already being, we're already aware. What else is there but to rest in what is already? Just letting go into what is already. Just melting into what is already. This awareness right here, just rest in that, just rest as that, as you already are. Anytime you feel hung up on something, just relax your grip on it. Relax back into this sky-like awareness. Whatever it is, a thought, a feeling, a sensation, doesn't matter. Some resistance, doesn't matter. Relax your grip on it and it's powerless. Relax back into the self, the I aware. It's always right here. Any feelings that come up, feelings of excitement or happiness, feelings of boredom or restlessness or sleepiness. None of it is a problem. Just relax your grip on it and relax back into this open space of awareness, which is never touched, never diminished or changed by any feeling or any thought or anything, and is always right here. This space of eye awareness where everything happens. Just melting back into this space. That's simple. And as always, take a few minutes before opening the eyes slowly. Take your time easing out. Okay. Sorry. How's everybody doing? Everyone's good? Okay. Good. Any questions or comments? How did you like vibrating the three seed syllables? The Om Ahum. Yeah. Any comments or questions about that specifically? So, as with everything, if this talks to you, if you go, oh, wait a minute, there's something, yum, there's something yummy there, feel free. All this stuff, it's all public domain. It all, it all, it all belongs to those who practice it. The three seed syllables of the Vajrayana, the so-called Tibetan path, and I say so-called because although it developed predominantly in Tibet, it has roots in India and China, and then has been practiced in all kinds of places, including right now being practiced in California and New Jersey and Oregon, Washington, wherever y'all are. So the three seed syllables, in a way, I hesitate to say anything about them because it's just you know it's what you experience. People ask, well, what's the meaning of that mantra? The meaning is that awareness that you experience when you dive in through the medium of the mantra. That's what it means, and that's beyond words. Having said that, here's something to take with a grain of salt because it's my inadequate recapitulation of my understanding of it to the degree to which it can be understood, and it can't. The Om is, I mean, Om is Om. Om is the infinite, we can say. Ah is openness, right? That's completely, all these sounds are completely organic, right? When we open to something, we realize something, we get it. Ah, right? When we relax, let go of everything. Ah. So Om is the infinite. Ah then is the opening. So then we're opening to the, we're presented with the infinite. We open to it. What's the result? When we're presented with the infinite and we open to the infinite, the result is illumination, awakening, enlightenment. That's Hung. Hung. That's Hung represents that. You know, it's kind of, sometimes people think of it as Om plus Ah equals Hung, or Om plus Ah yields Hung. In fact, let me see if I can find something here. I have a photo. Some of you have heard me before mention Nakchang Rinpoche, who was a lama that I and Maggie, my late first wife, studied with for a few years. And here it is. So Nakchang Rinpoche did calligraphy, did Tibetan calligraphy. He did a lot of things, including Tibetan calligraphy. And he once held we had a weekend retreat that he conducted, and it was at our house. We had a big Victorian house in Plainfield, New Jersey. And we had, I don't know, we had about 20 people or so in the house. We didn't have beds for them all. Remember, one person was sleeping under our dining table, and people, any nook or cranny we had. It was really great. It was like a big, Dharma slumber party. And after the retreat was over, he gave us, as kind of a token of gratitude, he gave us this calligraphy that he did, which I'm going to show you a photo of. Okay, could you unmute, could a couple of you unmute yourselves, please, and tell me, are you seeing that photo now?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a
Yeah.
photo of the beautiful calligraphy that Nakchang Rinpoche did, and that he presented us with. And this is of course, this is a circle, which is the never-ending circle, and this interesting thing in the middle, that is the Tibetan character for the mantra Hung. And every stroke of it has meaning. I mean, the way this stuff works, and these lamas and other experts can expound for if Nakchang Rinpoche was here, he could expound probably for hours about every stroke and every curve that make up the Hung. And he had some very interesting stuff about the way he worked when he would do his calligraphy. Because you want to do it right, it can't be sloppy, it can't be random, and yet it needs to be fresh and spontaneous, have the freshness, the spontaneity of the moment, this awareness. So what he would do is, if there was a particular character that he wanted to do a calligraphy of, he would set up in his home, he would set up on his work table, he would have one really nice, and this thing was big, by the way. This This whole thing was a couple of feet high and a couple of feet across, and we maybe a foot and a half across and 3 or 4 feet high or so. We put it in a beautiful golden frame and hung it over our mantle. And it was great the way this thing just just vibrated into the whole house. When I left New Jersey in 2010, I couldn't take this with me. I gave it to one of our Sangha friends. So he had these stories about the way he would do his calligraphy. So he wanted to be, it needs to be correct, it needs to come out of practice, but also come out of spontaneity. So what he would do is he would set up his work table with one really nice piece of paper. The piece of paper, the final thing was going to go on. And this was just rich, I don't know what you call it, but just very rich, beautiful, like some kind of parchment paper or something. So you'd have the one really nice piece of paper and have a whole bunch, let's say, I don't know, 99 pieces of just, throwaway paper. And then what he would do is on the throwaway paper, he would practice doing the character 99 times. And then he would go off and do something else. He would do housework, or he would, be writing his next book, until the phone rang. Oh, and he would leave his brush wet, sitting in the pot of paint or ink, whatever it is, next set up next to the big piece of nice paper. And then he would just write or do housework until the phone rang or someone came to the door. And then on his way to answering the phone or answering the door, as he passed the table, he would barely stop, pick up the brush and go and just do the thing in the moment, and then go and answer the door or the phone.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Isn't that great? Yeah, yeah.
And
So that's how to do anything, in case you were wondering.
I was I just looked at the image of Hung in the Dzogchen prayer book, and it's very close, but his has a little more flair to it, so it's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah. Right. It's got the
Mhm.
hand. It's handmade.
Beautiful.
And in fact, I've seen a lot of his works, and generally, this one doesn't have too much. Generally, there's some like ink splats on them, just places where the ink has dripped and makes like a little splatter, or sometimes a big splatter. And I remember him telling a story about going to his teacher, his lama, who was teaching him enlightenment and teaching him calligraphy, because these things are not separated. And he was saying, Ngak'chang Rinpoche was bemoaning the fact that he couldn't figure out how to make these calligraphies without getting the splatters on them. And his lama told him, oh, no, 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 the splatters are the best part.
Mhm.
So that also is how to do everything. Reminds me, there's a Zen story. Actually, this one's for you, Beth. It's about a gardener. It's about a guy who studies gardening with his Zen master. And again, in these cultures, studying awakening, studying Dharma, and studying the arts, whether it's calligraphy, gardening, flower arranging, tea
Mhm.
ceremony, archery, whatever it is, they're not two things. Right? They're completely, I was going to say integrated, but I don't even like that word integrated, because that implies taking two things and meshing them. It's recognizing that anything you do, if you do it right, is the unfolding of awakening. So the story is, this student is studying Zen gardening Zen with his Roshi, his master, and he gets to doing his final project, which is to do this garden, and it's beautiful. And here's the little lawn here, and here's the perfectly swept little sand garden and the three rocks here and here and here, and here's the beautiful um, cherry tree or willow tree with the blossoms just coming out, and he gets it all set up and beautiful, and then he sees there's some leaves and blossoms falling from the tree, so he rakes them all off so that the lawn is perfectly clean, and then he brings his Roshi to see it to like get his final grade on his final project, and the Roshi comes and looks at it and he says, very nice, almost perfect. And then he grabs the limb of the tree and shakes it so that some, leaves and blossoms fall randomly on it. And he says, now it's perfect. So that's how you do everything. Good. What else tonight? Any other questions or? Yeah, Beth.
I was just going to say, I really appreciate that because I'm working on a new garden at Venice High School, a
Uh-huh.
California garden with two other teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And we're laying a little border with bricks, that are laying there.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of that because I am choosing the color of the pattern of the bricks to create an artistic statement, and then my teammate just comes along and starts sticking this in
Mm-hmm.
place. And for me, it's part of it is a meditation, but for her, it was just let's get this done. So
Right.
it's like, okay, I'll just I can always play with it later. Let's
Yep.
get it done because I was getting
Yep.
off on a tangent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So everything can be a meditation.
Yeah, and you play with whatever comes along. And
Mhm.
meditation, like, you're meditating and the dog starts barking. If your approach is, oh, now my meditation is interrupted by the barking of the dog, you lose. You're out. You've lost the game. If you go, okay, this is dog barking. It's one more thing I'm aware of. One more blip floating in the open space of awareness. Then you win. Then you're cool. Right. So whatever. Some of you may have seen. I've been sending out now in my newsletter. Little squibs about our Filmosophers podcast, where we're interviewing with these people connected with filmmaking, and I think the first or second one was with David Lynch, right? Great director of Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, Elephant Man, Eraserhead, and so forth. And if you haven't seen that one, he's hilarious. I mean, right near the beginning, winds up on a whole tangent about his quest for the perfect milkshake. And at one point during the interview, I started coughing, right? And right away, I mean, as I'm coughing, I'm thinking, okay, we can snip this out. You would always edit that out. And Lynch says, wow, what an interesting sound. I'd like to use that sound in a film. Right? So then I realized, no, I can't, now I can't cut this out, right? Because my cough was like, that was such a demonstration of the artist's mind. That was shaking the bough, shaking the leaves onto that element of randomness, the fuzzy logic, which is real, which is organic, which which
Say
which
everything.
resists our impulse to polish and perfect everything until we've polished all the life out of it.
The saying is everything is perfect just as it is.
Everything, yeah, and that's our vision in meditation, is that everything is perfect just as it is. And hopefully you've noticed that those words which may at first have sounded insane have gotten much less insane. You can be sitting there with your eyes closed, and whatever comes along, you know you're feeling some tranquility, or you're feeling some restlessness, or your body's very comfortable, or your knees are killing you, whatever. And whatever it is, somehow whatever it is perfectly okay, just as it is, right? So that's one thing. Now it's another thing then to come out in the world and you pick up the New York Times and there's all this horrible shit going on in the world and this is how can it be and whatever all the stuff you have to deal with in your own personal sphere, how can it be that all this is perfect just as it is, right? And that does, and whereas in meditation everything perfect just as it is, okay, and therefore what? Therefore we just sit and don't do anything. We don't run across the street and try to get the people to shush their dog. We just leave it as it is. Now, in outside of meditation, in the world of activity, okay, everything's perfect just as it is. Therefore, what do? Do we just continue to sit there? No. Then we act as appropriately. We act as appropriate. If there's horrible stuff going on in the world, okay, what can I realistically do as a citizen to help make it better? There's something going on in the family situation or the work situation. What is it appropriate for me to do? And we do it. And that is part of the perfect just as it isness. The me taking action is part of the perfectness, is part of the okayness. It's appropriate. It's appropriateness. This word appropriateness is getting to be more and more meaningful to me somehow as time goes on. Okay? Good. What else?
Okay, I'll say something.
Yes, please. Yehudit.
Yeah, okay, I'll say something. So starting the meditation with the Om, the different variation of the Ah, Om. and so it brings you to a place where you need to control your breath in order to sound it out. And when you do it over and over, the breathing that you start doing it now, so your breathing becomes more controlled in a way it's calming the nervous system. That's sort of the meditative aspect of it, I guess, that you do this high now, okay, now I can I released all kinds of stuff and now I can close my eyes and start meditating and go somewhere more peacefully. I don't know, this what kind happened to me tonight. So, because sometimes, as you say, you're agitated, this hurts you, you have to move your legs. So this is very helpful to me. So I
Yeah.
think that's very nice. And I know from practice that it is very helpful.
Oh, good. Did other people generally find that chanting the Om Ahung kind of get, helped us be in a starting from a nice, more kind of settled place? Yeah, 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 and that's right. In very simple terms, yeah, that's what it does. All this stuff we do is, you know, my term for it, the on ramp. That's what it's about. Is because we've been running around, we've been engaged in so many things. So it kind of just settle out of being engaged in those things, and we may notice that the breath becomes more controlled. Would not be my preferred word because control. I know Yehudit, this is not what you mean, but controlled can sound to people like manipulated or
Wrong
yeah,
word.
yeah.
What is the word then? What shall I use then?
Well, whatever your experience is, my experience is the breath becomes deeper and more and calmer and more satisfying and more delicious and more full, something like that. Okay. Yeah, I love this stuff. I love this stuff. I do this stuff every day as part of my practice. Some people, you may not respond to it at all. That's fine. Everything is optional. That's our motto. And of course, when we're doing it in a group, you know, you may find that, oh, the length of the breath that I'm doing doesn't quite match up to you, or the particular pitch where I'm doing it doesn't feel optimal to you. So anytime in a group, it's a little bit compromised. So on your own, boy, just have at it. Whatever feels natural to your breath for the length, but just, you know, take a nice big, whatever is a nice big breath for you, and just letting go into that, and just the luxury. You know, most, don't worry about doing this stuff right. What's much more important is just do it in a way that's, it's for you. It's not you working for it to get it right. You know, it's like the great story in the Gospels where Jesus and the disciples are wandering around, you know, the band of homeless people, and they get hungry, but it's the Sabbath, and you know they're Jewish. Jews, you're not allowed to work on the Sabbath, so you can't pick food. But they're hungry, so the disciples, according to the story, they're in some field and they start picking the grain. I don't know whose field it is, but they help themselves to the grain. And the Philistines, who are you know, they're this particular sect of kind of, in the context of these gospel stories, they're like the sticklers, the purists, and they always just kind of magically show up at these moments to when these things happen, to challenge Jesus. So the Philistines show up and they say, "Aha! You and your guys, you're violating the Sabbath. You're not good Jews. You're not maintaining a good relationship with God." And Jesus says, "The Sabbath is made for man. Man is not made for the Sabbath." Okay? The Sabbath is made for man. Man is not made for the Sabbath. Right? So, you know, we could say the Dharma is made for man and woman, for humans. Humans are not made for the Dharma. All the meditation, the breathing, the singing, all of these tools, they're tools for us, for our awakening. We're not there to serve them. I mean, there is something about trying to get, you know, to say Om Ahung is Om Ahung. It's not, you know, Om E, you know, ha ha, right? I mean, there's some reason for the basic correctness of it, and we want to get that to find out what it can do for us. But we're not there to get a grade. We're not there to serve the thing. The thing is there to serve us in our in the project of our awakening, right? So you play with this stuff. If Om Ahung feels like it talks to you, you know, play with it. Take, what's a nice, deep, delicious breath for me, for this person at this moment, right? And just riding that breath. And just really feeling all the nuances of it. You know, hung it's not just hung, it's, you know, if you just really see, there's so many different phases of even just that last part, what we think of as the NG, right? Just listen to how much is going on there when you're getting from the ooh through the to the silence at the end, how many phases there are. Right, you hear that? I don't know how well this mic picks that up, but that's a whole journey right there. You know, if you're really paying attention, you really just let yourself be in it, melt in it. The whole journey, the whole awakening journey, can be right there in one syllable, in one splatter of the calligraphy ink on the parchment, one anything, one sticking your knife into the peanut butter jar, anything. So what else? What else tonight? Okay, let's do some more mantra in that case. Okay, let's elaborate. This okay? This talking to you? Yeah. Let's elaborate. Good face, Casey. Uh, let's elaborate. Let's build on the Om Ahung. Okay. So once we have those three seed syllables, I mentioned that they are the beginning. They're like the root of some of the longer, more elaborate syllables in Vajrayana practice. And the most popular of those, it's what's called the Vajra Guru mantra. This is the mantra of the Guru. The Guru. Who is the Guru? The Guru? Is there only one? Yeah, there's only one. Yeah, there's only one because which is all the gurus and every moment of experience and every person and every, we think of the guru, some wise old person, and sometimes the guru will speak through the form of some wise old person sitting on a mountaintop, and sometimes the guru will speak through the barking dog across the street that's annoying the crap out of you. Whatever. It's all the Vajra Guru. Vajra, right? Vajrayana, right? It's strictly speaking, it's not Tibetan Buddhism. It's the Vajrayana. Yana means path. Vajra means diamond. It's the diamond. It's the diamond lane. Actually, it's here in L.A. That's the left lane on the freeway. The diamond lane. Vajrayana literally means diamond lane. Right? It's the fast path. But it's diamond as in precious diamond. Diamond is the hardest thing. Diamond can scratch everything else. Nothing else can scratch diamond. Right? Sound familiar? Right? The nature of the absolute, the nature of the beingness, the awareness. Nothing affects it. Right? Also, Vajra is thunderbolt. Diamond and thunderbolt, kind of the same thing. Right? They're bright and they're illuminating and the thing about the thunderbolt is that it doesn't matter how dark it is, doesn't matter how long it's been dark, doesn't matter how deep the darkness is. One moment of the thunderbolt strikes and everything's illuminated. Right? So, Vajrayana, the Vajra path, the diamond thunderbolt path. And this is what we're going to be doing here in a few moments is the mantra of the Vajra Guru, the diamond-like, thunderbolt-like teacher who is everywhere, which is everywhere and everything, if we pay attention. Okay? So let me get something to, oh, you know what? I can type this because we've got share screen. Hold on. Okay, hang on. Regan, Sherry, did you want to say something? You raised your hand or no? No, okay. All right. Okay, are you all seeing this? Someone on mute?
Yes.
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 Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's our script. So here's Om Hung, and as I said, Hung we could say H-O-O-O-O-O-O-N-G. Usually you'll see it like this, but it's not Hung, it's Hung, right? So that we've talked about. BENDZRA is actually Vajra, the word we were just talking about. Vajra, which is diamond, thunderbolt. It's also actually. Let me show you something. No, I'll show you later. It's also there's a scepter that you'll see in the Vajrayana iconography. You'll see Buddhas holding this like scepter of enlightenment, which is kind of a diamond and kind of a thunderbolt. That's called the Vajra. So this is Vajra, but Vajra is. I don't want to sound too technical here, but Vajra is actually a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit is the language that came from India. When the teachings came from India into Tibet and then were further developed, the Tibetans had their own ways of pronouncing some of this stuff. So when the Tibetans say Vajra, it becomes BENDZRA. So BENDZRA is the same as Vajra. Guru, we know. PEMA. PEMA is the way, and some of you may be familiar with this very popular, wonderful Dharma teacher, Pema Chodron. Pema is the Sanskrit word Padma, which means lotus. Lotus. In Tibetan, in the Tibetan pronunciation of the Sanskrit, the Tibeto-Sanskrit, they say, Padma becomes Pema. So this is lotus, right? And the lotus is found all over the Hindu as well as the Buddhist iconography because it's beautiful, because it grows all over the lakes, on the surface of the lakes. It sinks its roots into the mud at the bottom of the lake, and the result is the beautiful lotus flower at the surface. Right there, there's the whole story of awakening, the whole story of our lives. Your life is mud? Great, perfect. Don't run away from the mud, sink your roots into it. Because out of that mud of your life, whatever it is, whatever the mud of your life is, that out of that blossoms the beautiful lotus of enlightenment, Padma or Pema. And it's everywhere. These things spread all over the surface of the lake. And SIDDHI, the word SIDDHI literally means perfection. Perfection. Okay. Then a sort of, and this one's the same in Sanskrit and in Tibetan Sanskrit. So SIDDHI means perfection, and specifically, it's usually used to mean the signs of perfection. Often the SIDDHI, when you hear about like enlightened superpowers, like people being able to whatever levitate or know your mind or see the past and the future, all these superpowers, and there are all these stories and of people doing this stuff as sort of optional outgrowths, kind of hood ornaments of enlightenment. Those are the siddhis. But the understanding always is that the true siddhi, the ultimate siddhi, the perfection of perfections, the one worth getting is awakening. That all those superpowers, it's fun to talk about and makes for cool stories, but that's something you can see. You can see people flying through the air if they're flying through the air. But whereas the siddhi of all siddhis, which is awakening, that's invisible. That's just what happens within us. And then we have another hung to round the thing off, to just detonate the vibration into the universe, to set it off, to set it vibrating. So Om Hung diamond thunderbolt teacher who is beautiful and is everywhere like the lotus, bring me enlightenment. That could be one way to none of this stuff can be translated, but if we were going to translate it, it might be something like that. We could think of this as a prayer to the Vajra Guru, which is not anyone or anything different from ourselves and different from everything that we encounter and everyone that we counter. Om Ahung BENDZRA, BENDZRA, right? Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. I want to get everyone's faces back on the screen, so maybe you want to take a screenshot of that or write it down if you haven't done that. But we'll say it a couple of thousand times, so you'll learn it anyway. Okay, so I'm going to stop the screen share. I'll give you another couple of moments if you need to jot it down. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. Okay? Okay. So, and there's many, many different tunes and tempos for singing this or chanting this. There are ones that are specifically for, some of them are matched for, like, they're all to raise you to the same place of perfect, awake, loving, open clarity, enlightenment. But you might use different ones depending on what you feel you need to raise yourself out of. Like if you're depressed. Was I talking about this in this group a week or two ago? Yeah, okay. So that's right. So if you're depressed, you would, you'd have something to hit. I used to practice this in our group we had all these drums and horns and cymbals, and if you didn't have a drum or cymbals or anything, you would slap your knees or your abdomen. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. 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 Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung, etc. Om Ahung BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI Hung. So I'll slap this one up on the YouTube channel, and so you can come back to this one. So if you're dealing with depression, you can come back to that one, and I really, you might find it's really good stuff for you. But you got to hit something. Got to hit something. Somebody once commented to me that is a jazz musician friend of mine, that in the jazz world, where a lot of the jazz musicians do a lot of hard living, and a lot of them died quite young. Charlie Parker died at like, I don't know, 35 or something. But the ones who live the longest usually are the drummers. Art Blakey lived to be, I think, 80 something, and this musician friend of mine was saying, because they get the workout, maybe they're taking the same drugs or whatever as the other guys, but they get to sweat it out. Right? So there's something about that hitting something, right?
Dean,
Yes.
it almost sounded to me like I need to get up and dance an Israeli hora.
Yeah, right. Good. Yeah. By the way, dancing is always recommended.
A good workout.
Dancing is a good workout physically, emotionally. If you're depressed, get up on your feet and shake your tuchus. Right? And if you're depressed, you won't want to do that. You'll have big resistance to that, of course. And that's one of the reasons we get on the buddy system with this stuff. Hopefully you've got a friend that says, yeah, I know you think it's stupid, I know you don't want to do it, tough. Come on, let's go, let's boogie. Yeah, Beth?
It reminds me way back in the day when the Hare Krishners would go through the LA airport, and I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's that. As a matter of fact, the Krishna devotees helped keep me alive for a year or two. I mean, when I was deep in my hippie days, circa 1967, and I was in San Francisco. I dropped out of college. I mean, I was just a total hippie with hair down to here, and sometimes I'd have a roof to sleep under. Sometimes I'd be sleeping in Golden Gate Park, and sometimes I'd be up for most of the night. Sometimes there were some mind-altering substances involved. And then in the morning, as the sun was coming up, I would make my way over to Frederick Street, up above Frederick off of Stanton Street, if you know that part of San Francisco, the Haight-Ashbury. And that was where where Swami Bhaktivedanta established the second Krishna temple in the U.S. The first one he established was in New York, and the second one was a storefront in San Francisco on Frederick Street. So I would go there for the sunrise service. We would sing Hare Krishna and the other mantras they do. We would dance, and then I would get a free meal. I would get free breakfast, and it would be delicious Indian cooking. They would make this, they called it halva, but it was not like the sesame halva that you're probably familiar with. It was made from farina, like cream of rice, but with lots of ghee in it and honey and spices. It was just, oh my God, so delicious. And the Krishna devotees, they had all these beautiful paintings on the wall of all these scenes from the life of Lord Krishna and his transcendental activities, and they would tell me, and they'd explain, the way they explained it was, they said, those are not paintings, that's the real world. This is the fake one out here. Right? So, yeah, and another group that I hung out with at the time was Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. Okay? Rabbi Yehudit, you knew Shlomo?
I think, if I remember correctly, in the 70s, I was in New York first time, and I met him, and I went in a car with him to some performance with somebody else. I don't know how it happened, but
Right.
yeah, yes. And then, of course, in Israel, yeah.
Yeah. No, Shlomo Carlebach was this wonderful, joyous, ecstatic, mystical Jewish teacher. And he was a Chassid, but he and his group, and he had given up. He had been the rabbi of some conservative congregation somewhere in, I think, the Midwest or something. And when he heard about the hippies and all this stuff going out in San Francisco, he said, "This is where the spiritual energy is. I want to go out there." And he went out there, and he had this group of young Jews around him. And I had being a West Coast boy, not growing up in New York, I had never heard of Hasidim before, right? And so the first Hasidim that I ever knew about were Shlomo and all these joyous Jewish hippies around him. It was later for me when I went to New York and met the Hasidim in Williamsburg and Crown Heights, and went, well, that's a different scene. But in any case, so I would go to, the Shlomo, and we dance, and they'd go to the quad, the big lawn in the middle of San Francisco State College, and dance, and he would sing these songs, he would write these songs. And then sometimes they would have mixers. The Krishna people would come join Shlomo and his people. Shlomo and his people would go to the Krishna temple, and because they said, we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. And the spirit in that time, in that place, was such that, people were open and loose, and that would happen. Sometimes later on, then people start becoming purists. So no, I'm a Jew, I can't go into that temple, or I'm a whatever. But I just like
He
to
would
keep my attention on the fun part. Yeah,
he would he would play his guitar, and
yes,
when he was playing and singing, he would jump constantly, always,
yeah,
and it made like such a spirit, as we say, like
yeah,
everybody was.
yeah, yep, yeah,
Yes, many of his songs became very
yeah.
famous.
They become sort of modern
Yeah,
Jewish
many.
ecstatic classics. Yeah, yep, yep. So, where were we? Oma hung benza guru pema siddhi hung. Okay, so I'm going to introduce another melody for this, and let's mute yourselves again, please. I'll mute. I got you, Beth. Just so that we don't have our. I want you to feel free to chant or sing along with me and not have the chaos of all our voices. We'll have just only the chaos of my voice. So in this tune we're going to be doing now, it has two lines. So as you'll see, there's the one line, Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hung, and then the second line answers the first one in a slightly different way. Okay? So you'll pick it up, feel free to chant along with. BENDZRA Guru PEMA SIDDHI BENDZRA Guru PEMA Okay. So that is that. Yeah. Yeah. That's my experience is that sound is really fun to be in the middle of. So thank you all so much for, thanks for playing. May all beings swiftly realize the Vajra Guru, realize the thunderbolt diamond, which is their own every moment awareness, aka happiness, and thus may all conflict evaporate, all suffering evaporate. May we all awaken from the fever dream of suffering, and may peace and happiness prevail everywhere. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dean.
Okay,
See you later.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Dean.
Good night. Good morning. Good.
Yeah,
Good
it's 12
evening.
o'clock here.
Good being.
Oh.